Hello everyone and welcome to Formula Euro League Season 6 Round 16 here in Abu Dhabi. Sorry for the slightly late stream, just had a few issues setting it up, but we are here now. Qualifying with about 6 minutes, or nearly 6 minutes into qualifying. VFC Krem is currently P1. But today I'm not alone. Sadly Matthias couldn't be with me. But instead we have the one and only Alex Bomberg.
Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Good morning, good day, good evening, whatever your time zones may be. It doesn't matter. We're here for FEL and FEL only. Season finale today. The championship is wrapped up as P2, and many other places are still to play for as we wind down for season 6 here of FEL under the lights in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it's going to be a thoroughly entertaining race, I'm sure. This track, obviously not known for its good racing in real life, but from my experience in league racing, it has been a good track to watch and race on. But yeah, currently Cramp sitting at the top by about a tenth and a half. As always, the classic close field. Champion, of course, crowned champion after the last round of the season, VRT Benjamin. Currently P4, but only about 2 tenths off the pole, so for the usual margins we have. Yeah, it's a strong session for him so far, but of course, given that he is the champion, you'd expect him to be at least a bit closer to the pole position, but of course 2 tenths is not a big gap, and after all I'm assuming maybe 1 or 2 runs, that isn't too bad. Yeah, got a lot of drivers yet to set a lap. 11 of the 20 have set a lap, of course means 9 have yet to set a lap. So perhaps a lot of invalidation. So Alex, is invalidation quite a hard thing to deal with around Abu Dhabi?
When you're pushing at a lap here at Yas Marina, it's certainly a factor the drivers will have to bear in mind. A feature that springs to mind is what you'd call the third chicane. I'm not entirely sure on the corner names, but after the second DRS and that chicane, the drivers will really want to maximise the track limits because there's a lot of time in that chicane, but at the same time it's very easy to overstep the mark and give yourself a red invalidated lap. Similar in the final sector as well. Track limits very tight with the racing line, and one mistake can put you off and ruin your lap and potentially your whole quali run. So as much as the drivers will have pace in mind, they're going to have to keep it within the track limits, which pushing hard at Abu Dhabi can be a problem for some drivers, but it seems as if 12 of the 20 drivers so far have navigated that just fine. You just see Magic Alonso go off at turn number 3. But yeah, so as you mentioned, Karam up in pole, a 32.6 strong lap for him as he heads out for his second run of the day. George Nader up in second, Smash third, just ahead of champion Benjamin.
As got a retirement on the circuit, that is TTT Nathan. Which Alpha Terry is it near? Is it near this one? Oh, we've gone past it. It looks like maybe just spun coming out of that the corner after the chicane. Sadly, most of these corners are fairly bland around here, so there's not really much of a name to them. The car is despawned by the time we get a good look. But a strange place to crash there. Perhaps press for a tyre? That could be my only guess, because that is again, why would the car pull off there? Yeah, that is a strange place to retire the car, but of course, after not setting a lap, that is not what you want to have. But yeah, lots of drivers out on the circuit at the moment preparing for their laps. 13 drivers now with a valid lap. Those at the bottom of the table are going to want to get a valid lap in at least a banker so that they have something to sort of to fall back on if they make a mistake on their final run.
Of course, 8.5 minutes just over that left in the session, and the time's starting to roll in. As I mentioned, 13 drivers have sat a lap. 12 of them are representative. You get the feeling Magic Alonso's time being 3.5 the pace. You'd hope for his sake that he's got a bit more pace in the bag than that, and I'm pretty sure he does throughout this qualifying session. So just waiting on the last 7 drivers, or 6 if you take away Nathan, to set their final, or their first laps I should say. We've got Dollar Tommy who has invalidated his lap. VRT Luke is on a lap now. The informed VRT Luke, I must say, Jackson.
Yes, having a great run to the end of this season. Got a couple wins, and as that is Karem, who has actually crashed out turn 1. And wow, how have they done that there? That is a curious place to crash. They appear to have gone into the inside wall. Down on the as Ballina goes up to P1. So Karem's chance of pole is over. But it looks like he's spun the rears, coming out of turn 1, and he's gone into the barriers on the left. Which is
by a fair margin as well. Ballina's ahead of Karem. It's not like it's a couple of hundredths, it's over a tenth, and that'll give his rivals, the likes of George Nader, Smash, Benjamin, Yuri, Stinson, Donkey, even all the way down to Warwick's Rage. It's all going to give them encouragement that they can get in amongst that time of Karem. It doesn't seem bulletproof that time. Obviously with Ballina referencing that, a 32.5, that's beatable, very beatable, but I'm not saying I could beat it, I'm saying the drivers certainly could, and we are going to see that time tumble throughout this qualifying session.
Yeah, a bit more on Ballina's Ferrari teammate, Magic Alonso. First lap, not so great, but I did hear that they're having some problems with their pedals, so that could perhaps explain some of that. Or perhaps it was a mistake, who knows. Yeah, very close up front. Karem, it seems like drivers are... you'd think around Abu Dhabi it's fairly hard to make a mistake with fairly large runoff areas, but, I mean, it's clearly possible to crash. We've seen multiple drivers do so far. More on the gaps between the drivers is that Abu Dhabi, a relatively long circuit, very long compared to those like Austria and Zandvoort. Obviously not as long as Spa or something like that. But compared to another tracks in the calendar, quite a long lap time. So we should expect to see slightly bigger gaps than we usually do. But still, I'd say it's a very close field.
Yep, 21 corners here at Yas Marina, so 21 possible opportunities for a mistake. Also, on the flip side, 21 opportunities to make up time if you're looking positively. We've just seen two drivers improve on their lap time. KJ Elting has moved up into 4th in that McLaren, and George Nader improved on his time, however wasn't able to move past Karem, so he stays in 3rd. He did give his teammate, and did receive a tow from his teammate, I believe, on that last lap, so George Nader currently sat about 2/10 off pole position, although the 10th off the driver ahead of him. He'll have one more run, as will Kai Eltink. Just trying to look for drivers on a lap at the moment. It seems as if a lot of drivers are on their in-laps, preparing for their final laps. Oh, there's Warwick's Rage, he's on a lap. Currently in 15th. If he can nail this final sector, I saw he's about 3.5 tenths up on his dash. He could put himself well inside the top 10. Let's see. Starting set is important here, Jackson. Let's bear that in mind. Warwick's Rage goes up to 2nd. A really good final sector from him, made up a lot of time. And he's well within a 10th of that pole position time.
Of course, yeah, Warwick is the driver that's pushed Benjamin all the way to Singapore. And I mean, he had a bit of a dip in form towards sort of mid to late stages of the season. After a very strong start to the season, consistent results throughout the first few rounds of the season. Pushing Benjamin all the way and led for quite a while in the championship. But sort of dropped off a little bit, didn't drop off, but sort of got caught up in the midfield whilst Benjamin got a couple wins. So Warwick now sort of perhaps wants to end the season on a high and sort of show that they're going to be here for next season and try and have another go at Benjamin, and this time try and get them. But still,
obviously consistency is key.
Of course,
it's all well and good winning the first 5 races, but if you score no points in the next 10, you're not going to stand yourself in great stead for the championship. So consistency is key, and that'll be something all the drivers will have on their minds going into next season. But I think a lot of the drivers will not take their foot off the gas, but relax, breathe a bit, and just go and have some fun in the last round, because a lot of the major championship battles are wrapped up, other than that one for P2, as I mentioned before.
Yeah, I mean, as always, it's so crucial to be consistent throughout a season, especially here. I think the most wins of any driver is 3, and that's a Benjamin, which just shows how close the field can be. Yeah, consistency is so crucial, just to keep getting the results, and if you can't win it, get a podium. And if you can't get a podium, get a top 5. It's just, you've got to always be there in the fight at least, to show that you can go for it when you get a chance. And then just take advantage when perhaps the others make mistakes, which we see relatively often, but of course not many mistakes are made, especially in the races. But I think it was in Monza when the race leader, I can't remember the name for the life of me, so sorry to them. I think it was their debut in FEL. I don't know if they're not racing today.
I can't help you here, Jackson. I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I'm very sorry to them. I don't think I can remember their PSN exactly. But they got pole position and led by quite a bit in the start of the race. But then made an early pit stop for the intermediate tyres, which then put them sort of onto the tyres too early and had to use them for much longer, and I had to pit again later in the race whilst everyone else stayed out until the end, and I ended up sort of bottom end of the points. So that of course strategy is key. I think as far as I can remember from Abu Dhabi, Abu Dhabi is a track where you do need to know your strategy.
Yeah, it's very fluid, the strategy. You might go into the race planning to do a 2-stop and then end up doing a 1-stop, or, vice versa. It's good having a good idea, as it is with everywhere, you could argue there. So it's all very dependent. If you get a safety car on lap 2, your strategy is going to change quite dramatically to what you may have planned going in. Or on the flip side, it doesn't change at all. It's all very dependable on multiple variables, I should say. But VRT Luke in the Red Bull jumped all the way up into second. He's less than half a tenth off Ballina. However, Ballina just under a tenth of a second up on his lap time. He's looking to go even further clear at the top. We're going to keep an eye on a few other drivers who are setting their laps, but a lot of drivers gearing up or on their final lap times right now.
Yes, Ballina, I believe, about to finish their lap. Where can Ballina go? As always, went wide at the final corner, and oh, that is interesting. I'll note that one for my future league races. Ballina went wide at the final corner and stayed off the track, and the lap count. No, it didn't count actually. I take that back.
I was going to say, I don't think it has.
It came up at the bottom. I don't know if you saw that as well. It came up at the bottom saying it had counted, but then hasn't appeared at the top left. Well, that's Ballina's session over then. As Luke has now retired in the pit lane, so knowing that's not enough time.
He went out slightly before. He went out slightly before. He wasn't planning to get a run in right at the end, so he does avoid the traffic. So almost smart from Luke. We're just seeing Warwick's Rage. He's just coming around the final corner, so he's timed it, well, almost perfectly. And I think he might be the last driver to get a lap in other than Monster. Monster does go up into second place. I thought Monster was on an outlap there. 3,000 separating him and Ballina, so my mistake there, but Monster up into third. And as I said, the time's tumbling, but no one able to topple that 1 minute 32.5 from Ballina right now.
Warrage on a solid lap at the moment. Have they... Oh no, sorry, for a second there I wondered if they had backed off. It was their ERS I was looking at. Perhaps I'm guessing...
I think he's gone purple in Sector 2. I'm not sure if that's a glitch or not, but he's about 2.5 tenths up on his Delta, and that's what he needs to get onto pole position, or the front row. It's very tight. It in between, you get the feeling it's either going to be first or maybe fourth here, or fifth, given how tight the top four is. Just over half a tenth separating the top four. Let's see what Kai's able to do through the final corner. Just keeps it within track limits. It's up to second. He's slotted in between the two, Jackson.
1 millisecond off. That is, I mean, that is insanely close there, and you've got to be kicking yourself. You may think if I'd taken a bit more curb here.
Can you believe it?
There. Oh, it's insane. It is truly insane as War Age. I wonder how their lap is going, a bit of a lock up there, but nothing.
He's up on his Delta, he's down on his Delta I should say.
Ooh.
1.5 tenths, that'll be a final sector and a half if he's able to
and
make
it up. And he spins
it,
and he's out! And crashes out of qualifying, so P5 on the grid is the best that they can hope for. That's obviously not the best way to end the session. Benjamin is...
only 10th?
Is Benjamin on a lap at the moment?
No, he's not. No, he's finished.
Oh, so yeah, sorry, it's just the car was going surprisingly quickly for a... I'm going on... So I'm just baffled by the fact that this can... So just the offboard, the AI looked like it was like on a push lap. To be fair, it still does, but now it isn't using DRS, which gives it away. But yeah, I think we're just waiting for Lorenzo Bandini to pull into their pit box. But yeah, that was an extremely close qualifying session there. And a great job there from Ballina to put it on pole by a millisecond.
Can you believe it? That's a title and a half, isn't it? That's one for the headlines. 1,000th, even 3,000th separating the top three. You mentioned Jackson. It's a long track, 21 corners. I want to know how much distance in the track is 3,000ths or 4,000ths as it's showing up on the results here. That must be. We're talking centimeters, surely.
I'd be surprised if it's that much. To be honest, a track this length, 1 millisecond. You wouldn't. I don't think you'd be able to tell the difference if you saw them. If they did that side by side, obviously laps wouldn't be the same. But if they could do that side by side, I don't think we'd be able to see who's ahead. I think that would just be too all three of them, insanely close. And I think it's fair to say we're in for one hell of a race.
Well, if it's as close as this, we've had 11 drivers or 12 drivers within half a second. Top 7 drivers within 0.2 of a second. So, we said there's no room for error, and I think that certainly reinforces the point, and it's got me very excited for this race now, Jackson. What a championship, well, not a championship finale, but what a finale to Season 6 we're in for.
Yeah, and I mean, if it lives up to the expectations of that qualifying session, what could that potentially hint at for next season with some of these guys returning for a full season and really pushing Benjamin to the limit? I mean, I think Benjamin was down in P10. Like, perhaps he didn't do a final lap to try and drop out of the top 10 and to get fresh tyres, but I mean, P10, he's going to have to start on the softs, I imagine, unless he
arguably the worst place on the grid to qualify.
Yes, it really is.
Especially here at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. What do you think will be the predicted pit stop strategy?
I believe 2-stop is usually the way to go here at Abu Dhabi. 2 sets of mediums are the majority choice. Expect the softs to start to drop off there's a noticeable drop off after about maybe 4 laps if you're conserving, maybe 5, 6 at a stretch, but you don't ideally want to be on the soft tyres after 8 or 9 laps is when you want to be off them. There's such a gain, such a delta on, say, fresh mediums. You're on fresh mediums compared to old softs, or even fresh mediums compared to old mediums. You can be 1 to maybe 2 seconds a lap quicker just by having fresh tyres. So the undercut, extremely powerful here, and it's not quite as entertaining in real life, but Abu Dhabi usually serves up a treat here on the F1 game because of the variable strategy.
That is very true. Now I'll run you through the grid for the finale to Season 6. It is Vierty Ballina on the pole position by 1 millisecond over McLaren's Kai Elfink. It's Monster in P3, the driver that won the first round of the season, and I don't believe has won since then. So they'll be looking to get back on top. Of course, their win came in Bahrain, so perhaps another win in the desert would be a nice way to bookend things. Vierty Luke sitting in P4, the guy that's been in very good form recently. He's going to want to try and continue that and potentially get another win today. Works Rage, the driver who's pushed Benjamin all the way to Singapore for the championship, sitting P5 on the grid. Solid, especially considering they crashed on their final lap. Vierty Karem, another driver that crashed in qualifying, sitting P6. Only really got 1 run in quali, so let's see what they can do over the course of a race. George Nader trying to back up War Rage in this race for the Haas F1 team. Amity Smash, the Belgium GP winner for Red Bull, sitting in P8. Cool Hans Carter sitting in P9 for Mercedes, going to try and see where they can go from that. The champion, Vierty Benjamin, sitting P10. Can they get up the order, or will they struggle in the race like they did in qualifying? Then P11, probably the pole position of the strategy, of the alternative strategy, Lorenzo Bandini. Then it is Tim Wenting in P12, not a good qualifying session for the Renault team. Then it's Ifar Stinson in 13th for Williams, Amity Yuri in P14 for Racing Point, Dolatomi P15 for the AlphaTauri team, then Donkey in P16, VR Margalit in P17, FEL Magic Alonso sitting in P18, Roy Boy P19, and then TTG Nathan in P20.
Certainly an interesting grid, Jackson. Lots of questions to be answered over the next 28 laps here in Abu Dhabi in terms of tyres. Everyone on inside the top 10 on the softs, everyone outside on the mediums, bar Tim Wenting in 12th. We've got all the drivers on the grid then, and we're ready to go for the final round of Season 6. Let's wait for the lights.
So the lights prepare to come on. I can hear them, but I can't see them. The revs are rising. And we are racing in Abu Dhabi. And it is a good start for Kai Elting to pull alongside Ballina into turn 1. Kai doesn't go for it though. Ballina deep on the brakes and holds on to the lead. Battling further down the order, wheel to wheel through the first complex of corners. But it seems like Ballina's got the good start that he needed, although Kai is right on his tail. And Kai has Monster all over his tail, as these drivers are nose to tail throughout this first sector of the lap. But can Ballina hold on to lead down the first of the back stretches? Can Kai challenge? Only 1 millisecond off in qualifying. That suggests that should have the pace to at least contend for victory, but it's Monster that's really putting the pressure on at the moment at the front of the field. But all these guys look like they're pushing a fairly equal amount, but Monster is putting his car on the inside. Late on the brakes, but backs out of it, not going to go for it today. Maybe later in the race. Further down the order, Warade and Luke holding similar positions, up one and down one each. Karem held position in P6. Benjamin a good start. Same with Tim, both gaining quite a few positions off the launch there. It's an empty smash in P9. They're battling further down the order between Stinson and George Nader. Stinson's a bit off the track there, but keeps it on. A little bit of wheel banging there between the two of them. Could that have given one of them damage? Who knows? It's very tight. But Stinson on the medium tyres, currently not flying. Have Lorenzo Bandini right behind him in a pretty good position at the moment. But a real sort of pack starting to split as the top 10 break away from the bottom 10 cars.
Yeah, great start from the two Renaults, as you mentioned, 7th and 8th from 10th and 12th. Tim's strategy of starting on the softs has certainly gained him quite a few positions as Ballina leads us away now. Do not be fooled by that timing glitch. Ballina is still in the lead of this race. He leads us from Kai Elting, who did have a look into turn number 1, but Ballina just later on the break swooped around the outside. I don't think Kai was really too desperate to throw one down the inside there. There was always the potential of contact and him spinning his car around. There's 28 laps, it's a long race here, anything can happen. And Kai playing the long game, not sending anything too far, but I have seen he's already picked up a warning. He went wide just after turn 14, I believe. And I presume, I haven't checked this, but I presume that will be one warning for Kai Elting. So he's going to have to keep it clean, presumably one warning ahead of the drivers around him.
Yeah, he is. You've got to try and hold on to Ballina at the moment, and Ballina looks really quick. Monster, to be fair, out the top 3 at the moment. Looks like he could be the quickest, as all of them abusing as much of the track limits as they possibly can through that chicane. But the Renault team had a solid start, making their way up the order. And I'll try and make a few more positions as they crack into the top 10. But I believe both of them on the soft compound tyres. Tim potentially going with the softs purely for the race start. But Stinson currently the lead car on the medium tyres, and is doing a good job so far in the race.
Yeah, George Nader pit. On lap 1 I saw some front wing damage, some debris flying around at turn 1. I couldn't put it on someone, but since George Nader's been in the pits, and it's a shorter stop here, and he seems to have lost more time than you'd expect, so I can only guess that that was a front wing change for the Haas driver, and he's all the way down in 20th.
As lots of penalties there coming out of the final corner, quite a few down the order, but Kai with the fast lap of the race, showing that he has got the pace over Ballina at the moment. But Monster just holding on at this stage, perhaps just saving the tyres, pushing for maybe an earlier or later pit stop, depending on what they expect to happen up ahead. Be interesting to see if Kai goes for the move down the straight, but the gaps are really starting to build up between these top few cars.
If these drivers want to make the tyres last, they will have to sit back on them. They can't go 100% every lap of this race because the tyres will simply fall apart, especially the Riz. So they've got to be careful. Not all the drivers will be wanting to make a move in the first 5 laps. Some of them will be thinking about the last 5 laps, and that's where you tell apart the good drivers from the great drivers. The drivers that have the IQ to sit back and go, okay, I can get him at the end of this stint or at the end of the race, rather than just throwing one down the inside and making a move. So we'll see the IQ of the drivers on display here, as they're all fighting to win the final race of Season 6. But at the moment, Kai Elting was quicker than Ballina on that last lap. It seems that Ballina made a little mistake out of what I believe was turn 13, and he's got Kai Elting to contend with at the moment. However, as it stands for now, Ballina still relative, I wouldn't say comfy, but he's holding his nerve well out in front.
As Monster with a penalty there already, only 3 laps in, and a Monster with a 3-second time penalty, saw him run wide at the penultimate corner there. Ballina sets the quickest lap of the race this time. That's even with Kai having DRS. and both of them similar ERS, so pushing at a similar rate at the moment. But that's put Monster on the back foot. Now perhaps Monster pushed too hard in the first couple of laps and is now going to pay the price for it. And I mean, he's got to hope now that the others get warnings and penalties. Otherwise, Monster could be in a very sticky situation at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Just check the warning situation up front. Kai didn't pick up a warning, contrary to what I believed earlier on. It's actually Ballina the one with a warning. He got one warning on the first lap, so he's now got to be careful. It's not too bad at the moment. He's still got the space for one more warning. However, it's not ideal. The drivers would love to be sat here on 0 warnings right now. And as you say, it's early in the race for the drivers to be picking up penalties. 4 laps in, and we've already got 5 drivers with a penalty. So that's certainly more than I was expecting, but gives you an idea and an indication of how hard these drivers are pushing here at Abu Dhabi.
Well, I can tell you one thing I now know for sure is that Kai is not pushing to pass Ballina at the moment. Though Warwick is all over the back of Monster. I saw Kai pull out of the slipstream there, down the back straight. As Kai going wide there, perhaps that could be a warning. As perhaps now he has a warning, I don't know.
He did the same thing on the first lap, and he's avoided a warning. I think he takes a line around the outside of that corner, just to avoid him. Nothing that gains in time, but it keeps a warning.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does seem at this stage of the race, Kai just a little bit more. Monster's
loses
off.
The rear, but he holds on to it. What a save!
I'm very impressed that he saved that, because he was at almost a 90-degree angle into the wall, but his rear tyres must be absolutely steaming. Warwick's Rage moves up into 4th, however he has now dropped out of the DRS of Kai as a result of having to back off to avoid the pirouetting Mercedes. Luke now all over the back of Monster. Can Luke make a move up into 4th?
I think we're going to see that very soon as Monster is struggling so much. Luke hits the back of Monster. He's now up the inside of the hairpin, he sends it up the inside. He won't be happy with a Monster there. And now that's Karem that's going to get past Monster as well. Monster surely has to pit at the end of this lap just because he doesn't have the grip. He just does not have the grip at the moment, and he needs to get out off these tyres before he makes any more mistakes that could cost him even bigger.
Luke's still battling with Karem. Karem trying to send one round the outside. Karem's laying on the brakes. He's not able to keep that on the track, however he goes very deep, and Monster might be making a move now. Benjamin and Tim are coming into this, they're side by side, as Karem a little bit quicker on the straight. It seems if Karem running a little bit less wings, Monster switches back to the inside, but Karem again later on the brakes moves up into 5th position. The thing is around Abu Dhabi, and especially the soft tyres, once you spin them up once, it's a slippy slope that just keeps on going downhill, and it's very hard the tyres back to temperature and keep the wear low enough to keep them going at the pace that you want. And with these drivers racing right now, it's a very high pace, so yeah, it's not something you want to do, but all credit where credit's due to Monster, because I'm not really sure how he's kept that out of the barrier there. And
he doesn't pit, so he clearly is stretching these tyres. And to be fair to him, he's considering what happened, he hasn't lost as many positions as you'd expect. I mean, I think it's fair to say, when we saw his rear end snap, we thought that was the end of Monster's race, because that was making a very quick movement towards the barriers, and took some very quick reactions from Monster to hold on to that one, as he's now got the Renaults behind him.
The Renaults, which have been the biggest movers as a team throughout these first 6 laps. You do get the feeling...
sorry, Karem doing a bit of a drift there. It looks like everyone's struggling with the rear tyres in particular, as battling behind, as that is called, Cool Hands Carter and Smash battling with
Benjamin makes an easy move on Monster. Monster dropped out of the DRS, he's really struggling on the tyres. He's got to get in the pits soon, because he's just going to lose time hand over fist at the moment. He's got an alright exit out with the first chicane. He makes a bit of contact with Tim. That was on the borderline. He's going to squeeze Tim round the outside. This is really borderline defending from Monster, but Tim goes round the outside. A bit of oversteer. Both the drivers go over the grass. Who was at fault there, Jackson? Well, I'm sure the stewards will be having a look at that, but normal order is resumed, is it?
No,
Tim's going to try round the outside of Monster. This will be an impressive move from Tim when Tiki makes that round the outside. What a move by the Renault driver. Monster down to 8th.
Couple things. One, I would like to thank the F1 game for doing something good, which is it actually gave me an aerial view for that battle, which was absolutely perfect given what happened, as Monster does now come into the pit lane. But during that battle as well, Kai picked up a penalty. So, Kai now on the back foot in the battle for the lead, And that puts Warrage in quite a good position, especially if he goes for the undercut and can mix it up with these guys. At least get back into the RS would be crucial now for Warrage.
Crucially for Kai, on the flip side, he is in DRS range. And I'm not sure, he must have picked up 2 warnings pretty fast, because he was actually behind Ballina in terms of warnings, but he's overtaken him, at least in the penalty sense. And but Ballina still out in front. You get the feeling he's rather happy maintaining a 6 to 7/10 gap to the car behind, because he is opening up a gap to the likes of the soft runners behind him and the likes of the medium runners, who I do have to say are going to start to come into their own right now, as can be referenced by Stinson, the first of the medium tyre runners. He's onto the back of Cool Hans Carter, the other Mercedes, the one remaining Mercedes out on track in the soft tyres. He's going to make that move. Is he going to get to the inside? He is. Nice and easy for the Williams driver. These are the first signs that the soft tyre runners are starting to struggle, other than obviously Monster almost going sideways into the wall. But Stinson just seems he's got so much more grip than the cars around him.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how badly these soft tyres are doing. They're melting off the cars at this stage of the race. And the mediums are absolutely flying, but I imagine we'll say that later in the race, that we'll say the mediums are melting. And for that's quite the block there from Smash, to really squeeze into the wall, which is quite a hard thing to do around Abu Dhabi. But that is the top 2 into the pit of Kyle Tink and Ballina. So that means Warrage takes over the lead of the race. Stinson struggling at the moment, behind M&T Smash. Just holding on at the moment, but that block that Smash put on Stinson in the final few corners really has hurt him, and perhaps it got some damage, or at least unsettled him, because Stinson's struggling a bit more on this lap, making quite a few mistakes I'm seeing.
I think he's just pushing to get past Smash, because this is a crucial point of the race for not only Stinson but all the medium tyre runners. It should be an easy move on the Red Bull now. See a few drivers struggling on their ERS levels, but Stinson makes that move up into 5th, and I don't think Smash will be challenging him on the exit of this corner. His soft tyres are certainly past their sell by, certainly past their best before date, if you will, and Stinson breezes on past, and you get the feeling TTG Nathan will be next.
Yes, something to look at is where the leaders have come out, and they have come out in clear air at the moment. Krem has jumped Kai, which is something of note, so Krem doing well at the moment, and without penalty as well, which puts him in an even better position. Sitting behind Ballina, perhaps going to try and back Kai up a bit, but they're not going to catch traffic for a good few laps, so at the moment they're okay. But as I say that, just look at the time that Ballina is gaining on them. Maybe it won't be long.
When did Krem get ahead of Kai?
I believe that was with the undercut, is my guess. Because I believe Krem
it's showing up for me. It's showing up for me as they've got the same age tyres.
That's me too, actually. So maybe it was an on-track overtake as Smash comes into the pit lane, and he changes his wing, so Smash had some wing damage.
Could that been a result of an excursion with Stinson, maybe?
Potentially. In the sort of battle they had, it was Smash's rear to Stinson's nose. So I don't know how he'd have picked up damage there, but perhaps something later in the lap. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly there. But Stinson continuing their charge now on the back of Tim Wentink. Can they go for the move this straight? No, not quite. They may be close enough to go for a dive bomb, but it's the intelligent thing to do at this stage is to just hold on to it. No need to make any sort of last lap dive bombs, at least not for a few laps.
Yeah, Tim probably not the #1 driver on the list to throw one down the inside of. I'm not making any accusations, but I'm not saying he'd just open the door for you and offer you a glass of red wine and say walk on in.
We saw that with Monster. Tim did not want to. He was overtaken, and that is a safety car. Safety car. It's Cool Hans Carter was crashed. Come out of the chicane.
Where's he gone off? He's gone off on the right, I believe.
How has he done that there? He's backwards. How? I
assume he's just lost it and gone into the wall.
Yeah, so that was just... when you say that, it makes it very simple, but it confused the hell out of me there when I saw him backwards coming out of the corner.
Well, this is great for WarX Rage, VRT Luke, VRT Benjamin, it's alright for Tim, This will be interesting to see what Stinson does.
Benjamin damage. Benjamin major wing damage. I'm fairly sure that was Renault. Sorry to interrupt you there. I think Benjamin broke his wing.
Yeah.
Someone's
New front wing.
there.
New front wing for Ben. This isn't great for him, but look at his teammate. Tim's going to have to sit behind, and this is also going to hold up the McLarens. Because Roy Boy's going to have to sit there and wait for Tim to drive into his pit box. I don't think he's lost too much.
There.
Yeah, I don't think he's lost too much at all. What did Stinson pit onto? So Stinson pit onto the medium tyre, so he's obviously committing to that 2-stop. We've had Donkey on the hards, so he's certainly committing to going to the end. Mediums wouldn't make it to the end from it, nor obviously would the softs. So Donkey seemingly the only driver committing to one, other than Dollar Tommy, who's in last with a new front wing. So 2 drivers playing it. Would you argue playing it safe going to the end?
I'd argue the opposite. I'd say playing it safe if we go to the same strategy as everyone else. But to be fair, you say that, although the hard tyre gives you that option. Okay, if you're on the hard tyres, you plan to go to the end, but let's say there's a safety car about 10 laps left. It's not like pitting would be the end of your race. I mean, looking where Donald Tommy is at the moment, he's got nothing to lose. So he's just going to want to sit back and try and follow he's got Tim Wenting only a couple positions up ahead, which we've seen so far as one of the quickest drivers on track at the moment. Of course, qualifying not so much, but in the race has shown some good pace. And definitely not pace that should put him down at P17. So perhaps Dollar Tommy can sort of latch onto the back of Tim Wenting and sort of be pulled along up the order.
Yeah, this brings George Nader back into the race. He hasn't really been a featuring character, if you will, in the race since his damage on lap 1, but yeah, thankfully he's back in. He'll have another shot. He's got a lot of drivers to get through, but he's there with a fighting chance. And you know, I'm a firm believer if you've got a chip, you've got a chance, as they always say. And I believe that's how the saying goes.
Personally, I've never heard it, but I can imagine that. I mean, I know I can assume where the saying came from.
I think it's a poker, a sort of poker, sort of.
That's what I was thinking.
Or it might be chip in a chair. I think that I've got a chip in a chair. You'll say, you know, still a chance. So it's all to play for.
I think you make up most of your sayings, to be honest.
Some of them.
Okay. Yeah. Shout out to Matt Alonso.
A famous one being my Nando's. If you remember that from where was that? Where were we when we did that?
Austria was it?
Austria. One of the two. I'm a man of many talents, and it doesn't seem as if making up sayings and anagrams is one of them. Analogies, I should say. But Dollar Tommy's bailed out of the hard tyres, and he's gone on to the mediums.
Old mediums as well. One of my personal favourites of your sayings is the different gravy one.
Different gravy.
Which I actually first quoted whilst commentating at Abu Dhabi.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Shout out to the leader, Magic Alonso, yet to pit, of course, but to be fair, doing a good job up in P1. Of course, got there through strategy, but it'll be interesting to see how that affects the restart. Perhaps causing a bit of drama further down the order as the field backs up a bit. Perhaps less planning to let Ballner through straight away, though. Could we see some team orders there that could help out
I can't imagine Magic Alonso would or could make it too hard for Ballner. That's not in any way me firing shots at Magic Alonso. That sounded really bad. But just the tyre delta is going to be quite big there, and we might even see a small tyre delta come in between the likes of Warwick's Rage, Luke, TTG Nathan, Benjamin, to the likes of Monster, Kerem, Kyle, Tink and Ballina maybe. But maybe not immediately, but give it 3 or 4 laps and we might see a tyre delta start to form there, where, you know, Warwick's Rage and Luke can use them tyres to their advantage.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how quickly when the softs died, they died. So even if that's 1 or 2 laps later, the difference is going to be huge. As safety car is in this lap, and Magic Alonso is backing up the pack here. He doesn't want to batten too much, because I imagine those soft tyres will be quite hard to get. Well, I was going to say hard to get temperature in, but as we've seen from some of the drivers today, temperature hasn't been much of an issue. But yeah, these guys backing up and getting in a line ready for the restart as the safety car. I wish there was a way to watch the safety car, as Warwick's got a penalty for a collision with Luke. I'm guessing it was one of those tiny taps that you have.
Unfortunately, they're both pitting again, I believe, unless they stretch these to the end, which will be a stint and a half. So unfortunately, I don't think that will be removable, as they will have to serve that in the pit lane, unfortunately. I said unfortunately a lot. But green flag again. Magic Alonso leads us away, down into turn number 1. And Kyle Tink is actually right on the back of Ballina as we head up the hill to turn 2, Jackson.
Magic Alonso went wide at turn 1, but I think that's helped them out quite a bit, because it's bridged a bit of a gap to Ballina. So, you know, maybe that could be a way to hold position for a bit longer, but I imagine... I mean, is Ballina going to go for the dive bomb here? Yes, he is, sending it up the inside, bit of a lock-up, but Kai's going to follow him through! Oh, very opportunistic there from Kai, and that could put him in a good chance for the lead here, as he's very close to the back of Ballina, but Kai's not going to push for it here. Karem has also made up the position. Magic Alonso dropping down the order quite a bit. I mean, that's to be expected. Those tyres are in no condition to fight these guys that are currently at the front. But I think Magic Alonso is going to try and hold on as long as they can, maybe hope for another safety car. Or perhaps going to go onto a slightly safer set of hards later in the race, perhaps, and then you've got a bit more safety in the tyre wear. Who knows? Or maybe going to go soft to the end. I don't have massive knowledge of the tyre conditions here. As that's wheel to wheel between Monster and Stinson, who is going to come out on top here. So that's also that's Magic Alonso losing another place, but wheel to wheel through here. That is some brave stuff to keep your nose in. And Stinson, is he going to get the position? As that is Magic Alonso off the road again. Oh, Stinson putting a bit of block there on Monster, similar to what Smash did to him. And Magic Alonso is dropping down the order quite quickly. And you imagine, when do we expect to see Magic Alonso pit? And that question has been answered.
Now.
So yeah, definitely a strange strategy call.
I thought he was making a mistake not stopping under the safety car because, you know, he's going to be so far back now.
He's retired.
And he has retired. I mean, I don't think he'd get much more from this race unless there was a safety car, so a shame for him, but, you know, at least he let the safety car restart away. And, you know, that's a picture for the logbook. But, yeah, he was dropping back quite significantly. But Kerem is one to keep your eye on. Older tyres. So let's keep an eye on Warwick's Rage and Luke and Stinson as well. You know, we saw Stinson move past Monster, who's also on them old hard tyres. Monster's got an absolute train behind him. It's like rush hour in the M6, Jackson, with three wide here. Down into the first chicanes, that TTG Nathan making a move. He has got through. I think he's made up 2 positions on that straight. A great run there from Nathan. Benjamin is going to try and follow suit. Monster, though, he's been in the walls today in that Mercedes, and he's got a lot of drivers fighting for his position. It's all very tight here on the outskirts of the top 10.
As battle between Smash and Donkey, Smash gets the position there. Those medium tyres working better than those hards at the stage of the race, as you'd expect. Yeah, Donkey obviously focusing on keeping his front wing, not having to pit again, and just staying safe at the stage of the race. Balmer still yet to get a penalty, which I didn't think would be a surprising thing based off of most league races I commentate on. Penalties usually a rare thing, which sees maybe 5 or 6 drivers getting one. Occasionally, if it's a pretty crazy race, you'll see more. As that is fast lap of the race for Stinson. I don't really know where that one came from. I wasn't expecting that from Stinson. Perhaps that place on the mediums wasn't just the tyre advantage, but perhaps he has got some really good pace at the moment, and he's really pulling onto the back of this lead group and making it a 6-way fight for the lead.
I mean, it's all to play for. It's anyone's game. Everyone's got a chair and everyone's got a chip. Here does seem to be a gap formed though. I think the top 6 is a smart call from you there, Jackson. Nathan, he's gapping Monster. Benjamin is the next of the drivers that is seemingly going to try and put a move on Monster here. Benjamin nice and late on the brakes. Monster's going to try it around the outside. He's going to get run out of road there. Monster down to 9th. Hasn't got the best exit out of the chicane. I don't think Lorenzo Bandini's going to have a go at him, but Monster, I think he was running a 3rd at one point in this race. It's all gone south for him since that moment, Jackson.
Yeah, it's quite confusing really when you look at it. It doesn't really make much sense. There's more and more drivers getting more and more penalties, and yet Balmer is yet to get one. It is, I mean, that could prove crucial, but we're yet not even halfway through the race yet, and it has been one. It's been a thriller, I would say. But Monster, early stages of the race, we suggest people to push their tyres a bit too much, but now, I mean, those mediums are slightly more worn than those around them. But you wouldn't expect it to, I mean, Monster got P3, 4 milliseconds off pole, yet they're dropping down the order like they've got wing damage. I mean, now they seem to have settled it down a bit, but it seems as they were losing positions, that sort of continued to happen, and they just couldn't get back into a rhythm. Which now, hopefully, now they're in a bit of a gap now, hopefully they can get back into their rhythm and start to push again.
Yeah, Bellner did get a penalty. I'm not sure if you picked up on that, Jackson.
No.
Yeah, he's just got one. I was just about to make a point to say he sat really nicely, being the only driver in the top 6 without a penalty. However, didn't quite get there in time to put the good old commentator's curse on him. But yeah, it's all fair game now in the top 6. I will just check, but I'm pretty sure
Stinson has
everyone...
6 penalties, 6 seconds of penalties. Warrage and Luke have their 5-second time penalties from their contact. So yes, that's more than the 3 seconds. But that will be...
they're going to have to serve it, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to have to serve it. But that means if they cannot get a penalty at the end of the race, after those 5 seconds, if they got the pace to, they might be able to catch back up and still be in the fight here. And potentially even in a better situation, especially if the drivers in front get more penalties.
Oh, 5 seconds is a big loss, especially in a field this tight. Someone who is sitting quite well, Benjamin. I'm not sure if you picked up on this a moment ago, Jackson, but he needs to get past Nathan and he needs to get the hammer down, as a certain Mercedes race engineer might say. But if he can get past Nathan and get onto the back of the top 6, well...
Sorry, I had to.
You've got to be specific, don't you, Jackson? If Benjamin can get his head down, get his foot down, get his hammer down, and get past Nathan, get his head down, then go get up to the top 6, whilst keeping it away from penalties, which you understand is a fair ask, we could see Benjamin. I don't know if a win is a little bit far-fetched. He doesn't seem to have the blistering pace we've seen from him at times. However, he could still be a good bet for a podium if he's able to keep it away from warnings.
Yeah, that's very true. A driver of note, as we're talking about Benjamin, Nathan, the driver that Benjamin is stuck behind, started last in this race and is in a legitimate P7 at the moment. So, as Benjamin about to make that P8, as he launches past down the straight, will Nathan perhaps try and go for the move down the next straight, or will Benjamin be able to pull a gap in time? It'll be interesting to see. Similar tyres, so you wouldn't think there'd be too much of a pace room, but it's not a good exit there for Nathan. If anything, that's put him under pressure from Monster.
Yeah, Ben cut in front of Nathan quite aggressively there. I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
I've noticed that a few times. That.
I mean, I don't know if Nathan will have anything to say. He's lucky that he... Well, I don't know if it's luck or if it's skill. I presume skill, as I believe, is that Smash who's gone around. It is Smash who's gone around. Made some contact with, I believe that was the McLaren at, if I'm not mistaken, it is the turn 12 and 13 chicane, it is. And he went round. He's down to 17th. Smash's race goes from bad to worse. Meanwhile, Kyle Elting's got another time penalty, so... Yeah, we're going to have to start tallying these time penalties as we're just over half the way into the race. And does anyone want to add up the amount of time penalties in the top 6?
Who knows? But just, I'd like to thank Codemasters. It's not often that I do this, twice in one race I think now. But the penalties feature in this game. Imagine if we had to keep going into Race Director to see who was on what penalties. I
don't miss it.
Yeah, neither do I. It got to the stage, I think it was earlier this season, in from a EuroLeague, that me and Matthias would just say, I was like, how though? Where? Sorry, I just saw Yuri. I would look at the minimap, and they were closer to the back straight than they were to the part of the track they'd gone off of. So, yeah, I think they just spun off the road and it reset them to track automatically because they were so far off there. But yeah, because they do, I think it might have been Spain, or maybe it was earlier. Where we essentially just said we're just gonna. Well, I think that actually might have been China. I can't remember which race it was. Where we essentially just said we'll just go with what we have at the moment and just see what happens. It will surprise us as they cross the line, because there were so many drivers that we could see have penalties, but we didn't know. Like, we didn't actually know the total of everyone, so we sort of just let it surprise us. But yeah, thanks to Codemasters, they have this feature. We can see it. Which is obviously very useful. I wish they had a similar system to what you have when you're actually driving. where it shows the penalties without, like it shows it with the black and white flag, so I don't have to keep going to. So I could see tyres and penalties at the same time. Yeah, so I'll just switch between the two for
down, Jackson.
I do, I really do.
Never happy, never satisfied.
But Ballon are dominating the race so far. I'm sure he's satisfied.
I don't know if dominating is the right word. You know, if you say dominating,
fair, in this race
Kyle
so far,
Elting's been buried within a second for the last 18 laps.
But he got another penalty. Speaking of penalties, that is Karem now. It's on 6 seconds, as well as Kai. I would say now this is having nearly a second lead in this race. I don't think anyone's got near that so far today. I would say that's dominating. I mean, Ballon's led most of it. I'd say that's dominating. There are many different ways of saying it. Yeah.
Well, I've just tallied up the top 6, and we've got 34 seconds of penalties in the top 6.
Well, that's not exactly... Considering the level of these drivers, you wouldn't expect that. But it just shows how tricky it is to keep the car on track around here. And it shows that... I mean, it's interesting to see Benjamin, and again, this is where you see drivers like Benjamin show their skill. They just haven't got any penalties, and I'm sure that won't stay the same at the end of the race. But
well,
for me,
funnily enough, throughout the course of the field, we got 91 seconds of penalties. So that's pretty much a qualifying lap of Abu Dhabi in penalties we've got here. So
yeah,
it's impressive.
That is a lot of penalties. But still, we have some drivers that have none. That just it's crazy. Speaking of penalties, that's 94 now. 97. So now 3 off of 100, I believe.
The big 100.
Yeah.
Back to the actual racing though, and away from GCSE mathematics. We should see the next pit stop phase kick in relatively soon. I'm surprised all these drivers have gone as long as they have, suggesting that they're all going to look at a soft tyre stint to the end. I did say in qualifying that I wouldn't expect that. I'd expect more of a soft medium stint, which would, you know, allow the drivers to pit a little bit earlier in the first stint in return for pitting laps 17, 18 for their second set of mediums. But yeah, if there was a late safety car here, Benjamin and Lorenzo and Donkey, in actual fact, are gonna profit massively, and Warwick's Rage and Luke, because after they've served their 5-second penalties, which we're presuming are just unfair little taps given by co-masters under the safety car, if for whatever reason the pack were to become all of a sudden bunched up at the end, we've got 4 drivers who stand themselves in very, very good stead for a very strong result here.
So, do you think it'd be possible to go to the end on these mediums?
For the likes of Warwick's Rage, Luke and Stinson and Benjamin, yes. For the likes of Ballon, Kai, Kerem and Monster, no, I don't think so.
Speaking of which, Kerem into the pit lane. So,
Mr. Jackson returns.
Oh, and Kerem drifting it into the pit end through there.
Well held, Kerem. We've seen a few people... Well, we've seen 1 or 2 people go a little bit sideways in that final sector.
And one of them is in the pit lane now. It's Monster. Going on to soft tyres as expected. Yeah, really, these guys are going to be quick at the end of this. We could definitely have a chase to the end, I've got a feeling.
Karen will come out in the lead here. If he doesn't make a mistake on his that lap, he was just over 1.5 seconds off the lead. If he doesn't come out in any traffic, which he doesn't nice and clear, if he does a clean out lap at relatively good pace, which we know Kerem has in the bag, we could see Kerem in the lead of this race.
Yeah, but of course that's only if everyone else pits, and I know we expect a lot of them to pit, but
I think we might see a few try and just leave that out and see what happens, because they may as well.
I've got a feeling we might see Benjamin do that, and Tim. Both of them haven't shown blistering pace, which would suggest to me they're going to the end. Like, they're just saving at this stage.
I mean, we saw Ben earlier in a league race earlier today that he'd sit back and conserve the tyres in his opening stint, which allowed him to go longer and have a better final stint. We know Ben has that IQ of working the tyres well. He could be using that now. I'm not saying the other drivers don't have a high IQ, I'm saying Benjamin sometimes pulls off a few wacky strategies, but the top guy's still not pitting, and every lap that goes on, it makes it seem more and more as if they're going to try and keep it out. Stinson pits, so one of the drivers that I tipped to stay out is actually coming into the pits. So if everyone else pits, you're going to get a fantastic undercut. If no one else pits, it might look a little bit stupid.
Danny Hetkamp, sorry about that. Danny Hetkamp has pointed out in the comments that Donkey is actually our virtual race leader.
Until Karim overtakes him this lap.
Yes, fair enough. But still, as Smash that last lap of the race down in P16, I mean, if Donkey can, you know, somehow defend, I mean, either way, if Karim is indeed our virtual race leader, Donkey is in a position that, with only 7 laps left, still a good chance at points.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. We'll have to see how the tyre situation plays out, because I think for the top 3 this is going to be very marginal. Because it's not like they're having a Sunday drive, although it is a Sunday, you know, these guys are, yeah, they're really, really quick drivers, and they're pushing the limits and flexing these tyres. So the tyres around here at Abu Dhabi don't have a very long lifetime anyway. Being pushed to the extent that they are at the moment, it only shortens it. And running in the dirty air as well, that's going to be something that will affect Kyle, Tink, Warwick's Rage, Luke especially. Benjamin, as you mentioned, a little bit more breathing room. But I'll be impressed if these guys make it to the end, I'll say that much. I don't think it's impossible. By no means is it impossible, I'd just be impressed.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get these to the end, I think it's safe to say, if they can get these to the end without a puncture, they won't be caught by the guys that are pitted.
Roy Boyer's in the pits. That almost, it seems too late for that to be planned. It seems as if he was maybe trying to stretch them to the end, but has bailed out because lap 22 with 6 laps left. That's a bit too late to plan a pit stop, surely.
Yeah, I mean, if you knew you were going to pit, you'd pit when you could do something with it. Because if you knew, I mean, the softs can go long. Well, I was going to say the softs can go longer than 6 laps. I think some of the front, I think Monster would definitely disagree with that. But Rover coming out in traffic here, big group of cars, all these soft runners, so all very quick. Stinson right on the back of Donkey, and he's passed already. If everyone does pit up front, we have a Williams 1-2 on our hands here, which would be quite the statement to end the season off with. And I believe it would also put, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it would also put Karem as equal most race wins of the season on 3. So I know Karem definitely has 2. Which were Monaco and Australia. Funnily enough, both races where I was commentating with someone other than Matthias. So perhaps that's there's a.
Is there a charm there?
Yeah, perhaps there is. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether this works or not. I've got a feeling that I'm 99% sure the front runners are staying out.
Yeah, I think Warwick's Rage and Luke are almost pushed into that, because at the moment, Warwick's Rage will win the race. Yeah. Because he'll have that penalty removed and Luke will be second.
That is very true.
Bella did get his second penalty. Karim's really getting... And the problem is the gap between Tim and his teammate Benjamin, 8 seconds. That's going to take the best part of 3 or 4 laps to make up on fresh tyres, so probably, potentially even more than that. So that is going to serve up an issue for Karim, but nevertheless, I think he is banking on the likes of the drivers ahead falling into some trouble with their tyres, which we'll have to see. There's still 5 laps to go in this race, and we know how quick the tyres can drop off, so expect a lot to still happen in this race. It's all to play for.
Yeah, this is going to be one close finish, which I'm fairly sure it always is. Very few races have been dominated this season. I think the closest finish was probably Brazil. I think Ballina gave up the lead to Luke at the line because they had had contact a lap or 2 earlier. George Nader is going to be the next victim of Karam, and I don't think it'll be long until he is looking at the rear end of a Williams car rather than a Renault.
Considering George Nader was in the pits at lap 1 and 22 seconds off the next car, I think to be up in 7th, soon to be 8th, you'd assume, isn't a bad recovery from George in the Haas. The Haas team at the moment looking at a good points haul. I'm not sure how that's looking for them in the constructor standings, but Yeah, reliable job from George. Unfortunate about the first lap, but you know, showing today he's got a cool head, and you know, points are still available amid the charging pack of soft runners.
Yeah. All that is a bit of a mistake there from George Mader, as that is Karem right on the back of him already. I think Karem's going to end up. I think you're right when you say that Karem can't make the gap up to Benjamin. It's just too big. It's simple as that.
It's growing as well.
Yeah, that is very true. Pat's backing these guys up because George Mader's on the back of Tim as well now, which is very interesting to see. Could you check to see if both Warage and Luke got there? Did indeed both of them get that penalty from a collision on the safety car?
I'll check that for you right now. I can say with confidence they did already, but I'll just confirm that. Just give me one moment. I know Karen's made a move on the Haas. He's going to make a move on Tim very shortly, assumably.
Yep, he's in the slipstream of Tim. He's going to go to the inside, late move there. And bit of a lock up there, bit of a wheel banging as they go through there. But all pretty clean there, and Karem gets the position, bit of a wiggle on the rear end as well. But now it's sort of that is Monster getting past Donkey as these two are wheel to wheel. Donkey's fighting back those hard tyres. They may not be very good, but Donkey is definitely driving them to the absolute limit. He wants to get that one point, as Monster has 15 seconds of penalties. To be fair, all he has to do is hold on to the back of Monster. Poor Monster, very aggressive there on the limit. As you have a yellow flag out there, and that's Roy Boy with a spin. Off the road, lost a lot of front run as well there.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I think the battle for the win now is Luke versus Warage.
Don't forget Benjamin, no penalties.
Of course,
he
yes.
might get on the podium at this rate. He'll be on the top step probably provisionally.
Yes.
But I'm sure, and I can confirm, Jackson, Warage and Luke's penalties both came from hitting each other under safety car, presumably a soft touch, which can be removed. But Benjamin's very much in this, and he is on for P3 at the moment.
Okay, can Luke get ahead of Warage, which is essentially the battle for the win at the moment? As Roy Boy has retired in the pit lane there, end of his day. It's not been a great day for the McLaren driver. That's the one bad thing about having a bad race at the end of the season, is you can't bounce back. I don't know about you, but I always like to bounce back fairly quickly if I have a bad... When I have a bad league race, I always can't wait for the next one to sort of come, so that I get another chance. However, I do know some drivers prefer to have a break.
The last time I raced in the season finale, it was actually at Abu Dhabi. My wheel disconnected with 3 laps to go, so that wasn't ideal. And Kai's already picked up 2 warnings this lap, so he's well on his way to getting that third penalty, I should say, like 9 seconds.
Well, Kai's already got 9 seconds at the moment.
Has he already got 9 seconds?
Yes,
Sorry, he's picked up another one. Wow, sorry, I wasn't running the penalty graphics, so that's just going to bury Kai even further down.
As off there is Balliner. Balliner wide at turn 1, and there's yellow flag, and that's Stinson. Stinson has had a spin at the penultimate corner. That is going to ruin his chance at points, surely, and he comes into the pit lane. Are you going to retire the car? Because he's got no wing damage. Is he retiring the car there, Stinson?
Well, he's got 15 seconds anyway.
Yeah.
So nothing much.
Going to go for fastest lap.
Yuri on 29 seconds of penalties. That's a new one.
Yeah, that could end up being a potential disqualification, I've got a feeling. But I mean, at least you can say you've done it. It's one of those things that isn't a good thing to be able to say you did, but sort of it's a story you can tell.
Back to Benjamin. You mentioned that he was conserving his tyres. He's using them, and he's certainly using them at the right point. He's got that gap from just under 4 seconds down to under a second now, and he's within the DRS of his Vortex Racing Team teammate, VRT Luke. So I don't think we'll see Benjamin go for a move, but Kai nearly hit the wall there on the exit. He's gone off a lot on this lap, so I'm not sure if he's struggling with a few issues. But what was I saying, Benjamin, probably won't go for a move, but the DRS sort of just ensures he can stick with Luke, and then again he will be there to pick up on any scraps. Another penalty for Kai.
I've got a feeling this could end in drama, similar to some of the races we've had earlier in the season. where it's sort of they all sort of sit comfortably, quite happy where they are for the first lap, sort of first 90% of the race, even 99% of the race, and in that final lap, that final few corners, they all forget about their friendships, they forget about their teammates, they go all or nothing. And as a driver, it's not really a conscious choice, as that's Kai off the road again. It's more
Kai's
of,
really struggling.
yeah,
Kai's
the tyres
really struggling
are
with his
gone.
tyres.
The tyres are
Karen's
dead.
just not there to capitalise there.
As if
Still
anything,
7 seconds.
if anything, Kai here could in fact, I was going to say could help Ballina, but I think it's fair to say that, I mean, as that is Kai just backing off. Kai's letting them through. He's not going to bother, I think he's retiring.
Has he got a problem, or is he... I mean, he could have at least got points today.
He's got no punctures, he's just pulling the car over.
Maybe he... Well, I'm not sure, we can speculate. But he could have got some points.
Mm.
Not that there's a championship to fight for anymore. The championship leader, the champion, up in 4th. This will provisionally, we presume, disregarding any dramas, that will become P2, or P3 I should say. After Warwick's Reg and Luke get their penalties removed. It's a shame for Ballina. He's led, I think, almost all but 2 laps here. But, you know, keeping it clean is the name of the game. He's gone off again. So I'm really surprised at the influx of penalties we had throughout the course of this race. We know it's a quick field. We know they're pushing it to the limit. But, wow, lots of penalties.
The thing that surprises me is that whilst we have some drivers that are as good as Ballina with 9 seconds, we just have drivers of a similar level like Luke and Warrage that have got none. So it's not like a pushing sort of thing because Luke and Warrage are keeping up with Ballina. It's really separating these drivers out quite a bit in terms of who can avoid penalty. Maybe it's the track. Maybe some of these guys just don't enjoy the track. And personally,
Jackson, I've heard that Kai had a puncture front right.
I personally did not see that, but I'll take your word at that one.
He said on the comments, so we're going to trust that. That would explain it.
He would be the one that would know.
Drop off in pace. Yeah. So let's see. We are on the last lap. It feels as if we need 3 more laps in this race. That would be awesome.
It's more he's going to go for the move on Ballina here. He is going to go for it. He's going to want to win this race on track. He's going to the outside of the chicane. He's going to go around the outside. He's got it before the braking zone. The tyres are there. But he goes wide. And there's a bit of wheel bang here. Could Luke capitalise as Ballina's... And they've collided. Warrage off the road. Luke's into the lead. Luke is taking the lead on the final lap of the race. Ballina has fought hard with Warrage. And it has let Luke through. Warrage is now sending up the inside. He's sending up the inside. They're both off the road. Benjamin could win this still. Luke holds on to the lead. Warrage's going to go around the outside. Oh, there's a bit of wheel banging there. Ballina's up the inside. Can Luke hold on to this one? Luke is doing all he can just to block.
Surely he can't make a move
through the final
here.
few corners. That's Benjamin off the road in the background. Benjamin now gets a penalty as well. But Luke is going to win the season finale. VRT Luke wins the race. Warrage gets 2nd place. Benjamin gets 3rd. What a finish to that. What a race.
Wow, do not be deceived by the timing graphics. Luke and Benjamin's penalties will be removed. Luke and Warrage's penalties will be removed, I say. And that will be Luke winning the race ahead of Warrage, ahead of Benjamin rounding off the podium. What, as Yuri does get disqualified, what
Finally.
a finale. What a final couple of laps. Wow.
Yeah, that was... I mean, you can probably tell my voice, because I think only dogs could hear it at one stage. That was very exciting final few corners. And I've got a feeling that race isn't over. I think there's going to be some questions asked after this one. Warrage and Ballina are fighting so hard. I mean, and then Warrage just dive bombs, sending Luke off the road. But I think, I was speaking about whether Kareem earlier in the race could match Benjamin's most wins in the season. But I believe Luke is now equal most wins of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's won 3, being Brazil, Singapore. No, it's 4. Actually, I think Luke might be on 4. I think he might have the most wins of anyone this season. So it was Brazil, Singapore. In order, it's Brazil, Monza, Singapore, Abu Dhabi. So I believe Luke has the most wins of the season at 4. Which, considering he didn't win until I think round 11 or 12, is a bit of a surprise, but a welcome one.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a donuts display from the Red Bull team, including AlphaTauri.
Very nice of them.
Della Tommy and MNT Smash. Not great races from the two of them, but Donkey did get in the points in the end. P8 for Donkey after that adverse strategy. That would have been certainly as a result of getting. I don't think he got any penalties, but if he did, he probably only got one. So fair play to him.
I mean, I don't even know who. I'm looking at these results going, oh, wait, they finished there. It's just so many things have changed on that final lap of the race, of course, the penalties being a big part of that. Yeah, that was a crazy race, and it didn't disappoint, I think it's fair to say. And it was a rough finish to the race, but I think all in all, I would say a fairly fair finish to the race, because each driver had a bit of a rub here or there. Admittedly, it was more like touring cars than single-seaters, but still, I think, from my view at least, I think each driver had an equal amount of over-aggression, but maybe the stewards will decide differently, and who knows, maybe we could see a surprise winner still.
Maybe. I guess we'll have to see, but it's been a pleasure. Thanks for asking me to come along, and I should hope that we'll be seeing more of this into Season 7, because if it is, I'm certainly on board.
Could you invite the top 3 from the race to a party, please?
If I have to.
I mean, yeah, you know.
I will.
You should have. I think you'd have them all as at least you know. Well, Rage probably didn't have as a friend. I don't know. You have lots of friends, I'm imagining.
No,
yeah.
I'm very lonely.
Oh. Well, on that sad note, yes. Now, as we wait for the podium drivers to get in, of course, after they're in the party, we can then ask them whether the results are exactly correct. Although I'm noticing now, Luke had another 5-second time penalty. Just pointing that one out. Where did he get that? Was that on the last lap? Yes, it was.
I assume that would be.
We'll invite the 3 that we expect to be there, because I think it's fair to say the expected
Benjamin,
results
and Warwick's Rage.
Yeah,
correct?
Luke, Benjamin, and Warwick's Rage, or not the correct order there, but sort of roughly. But yeah, Balner was on the podium, so sorry, Balner, if you do end up getting the podium from this and we've not invited you, and it's sort of unfair to you. Sorry if that does end up being the case. But we're going to go off what we think is the provisional results. These obviously are the provisional results given by the game. But as we're fairly sure, I believe the results that we're predicting are more likely to happen than the ones that the game has suggested. So we will go with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Luke got that final 5-second time penalty.
I got a feeling it'll be corner cutting. When he was
you
pushed off the road,
you don't tend to get one for out and out corner cutting, but I assume removable 5 seconds are 9 times out of 10 removable penalties. So
perhaps it's from the Warage wheel-to-wheel contact. If the game thought, I mean, I think that was more Warage's dive bomb's fault. But if that did end up being, Luke's fault, then that if the game thought that, then maybe that's where the penalty came from. As we still wait for the drivers to join.
We can wait.
Yes. Wait a few seconds to see.
This will be the second time I've spoken to Ben in a party today as a podium sitter.
Me too. I'll put up who we believe is our race winner's car on the screen, so you'll get to have a look at the beautiful Red Bull Honda.
It is a big maybe right now.
Yeah, we really don't know. We'll give it a few more seconds. But Alex, if we'll let you do a brief sort of description of the race whilst we wait, and if they're not in by the end of that, then we'll end the stream there. So
you put me on the spot.
I mean, you do it to me every Sunday, so you know I'll return the favour.
Right, it was a race of many tales. It was a race of penalties. It was we saw many drivers go off. You know, we saw it go as far as Yuri getting disqualified at the end. But lots of penalties, which surprised me. Strategy, as we always thought, played a really interesting part. I think it would have been great to see an extra 2 or 3 laps in that race, because I really think the tyres at the front would have crumbled, or even one more lap. I think the tyres would have absolutely crumbled at the front. You know, we saw Kai get a penalty. I think if Karen was on the back of them in the last lap, that would have made for an even more fireworks final lap, if you will. But yeah, it's all sort of a blur, that race. We have Ballina leading. It's a shame for Ballina to not get a penalty, to not get a podium as a result of penalties. But you know, it's the name of the game. You got to keep it clean. If you don't keep it clean, you're not going to get the rewards. And Ballina are not able to reap the rewards today. But you and me both know Jackson. He's a very talented driver. He'll have other wins. He'll have other podiums to look forward to, and certainly a contender for next season. But you have to say, Ben, from, I believe, was it 8th on the grid? Maybe it was 10th on the grid, actually. 10th on the grid, you're right. All the way up into a podium position, so a great drive from him. But yeah, what a crazy couple of laps that was with the tyre indifference.
As you're saying, Benjamin and Luke have joined the party. First of all, just precast for everything here, is that we're guessing what the result's going to be after penalties.
Assuming, course, I think, is the...
Yeah, assuming, yes.
I think is
Luke P1, I think.
Yes.
YX, I don't know, because we compared the penalty, I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, what we believe it to be, Ben, is...
I'm P3, I think.
Yeah, you're third. Warx Rage second, and Luke got the win.
And if that's correct, congratulations, Luke. Am I correct in saying that this is your 4th win of the season?
Yeah, it is my 4th win of the season.
So that means that you actually get the most wins of anyone this season, I believe. If I don't know if that's correct or not, I'm not sure.
Probably.
I think it's close between you and Benjamin.
Because last week I tied with Benjamin.
Then
3 wins.
Then yeah, you did take the most wins of the season. I mean, that's a lot of them coming in the second. I believe all of them coming in the second half of the season. So perhaps that's a sign of what you can bring next season. But first of all, talk us through your race.
Well, the start was pretty bad. I just lost the position to Warx. Then it was just staying in the train until the safety car came out, and then I just went to mediums. We were still in the train, and then I couldn't really attack Warwick's Rage because the DRS it's really powerful here, and if the guy in front of you has also DRS, you literally can't overtake. So, but on the last lap he was going for a move on Balliner, and they were side by side, or he went deep, and then Balliner tried to switch back to get the position back, and they got a bit on the outside. They touched, and I saw a gap, and I just went for it. So then I just won.
Benjamin, next. Quite a recovery race for you. I don't think you got a penalty until one of the last couple of laps. So how did you avoid penalty? And I mean, Luke as well avoiding penalties. But how hard was it to avoid penalties throughout that race?
It wasn't too hard. I mean, track limits are strict, but if you just focus really well, it's doable. But yeah, I got a penalty, the penultimate corner, I think. But they were side by side in front of me, and I needed to avoid a little bit of the action. So yeah, that's a penalty. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Alex, do you have any questions?
No, nothing to add. Congratulations to the podium drivers. I don't think we're going to hear from War Rage today, unfortunately. But a crazy couple of laps, and you know, as Luke said, if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver, and it seems as after today, Luke is very much so a racing driver. Yeah.
So if that is it then, so thank you everyone for watching the race day. Congratulations to our podium sitters and our winner today in Luke. So congratulations to you two, and of course War Rage if War Rage just watched this. Yes, that is the final race of Season 6, and after that one I can't wait for next season. It should be more thoroughly entertaining races, and hopefully another thoroughly entertaining championship battle. But until then, I've been Jackson, and Alex has been Alex, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.